Are you ready to unlock the secrets of brand innovation? Here you'll discover unexpected ways to make your brand soar in value. Get ready for inspiring stories, actionable tips, and insights you'll need to build your brand and learn an entirely new way to fly. This is the Hummingbird Effect. And now your host, Wendy Coulter.
Hi, I'm Wendy Coulter, president of Hummingbird Creative Group. Welcome to the Hummingbird Effect podcast today. Our preface for the show is around the Hummingbird Effect in marketing and how small tweaks in your marketing plan can make big impacts in areas of the business that you might have not expected. So today I am here with actually a great friend, Don Emmett. Hello, Don. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, Wendy.
Great.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your cast.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, it's a beautiful Friday afternoon, and so, like I said, we'll just have some fun here. I'm really, really interested in having you on as a guest because you're not like one of my typical marketing directors, but you have seen a lot of businesses in your space. And so let's talk about business brokerage a little bit and what you do today, and then maybe weave in a couple of fun facts about Don, or maybe we could kick off with that. I think you've been a DJ in your lifetime, correct?
All right. Well, I'll build up to that. So I'm Don Emmett.
Okay.
I am the managing director and owner of the Murphy Business Sales franchise in Raleigh. So Murphy Business Sales is a business brokerage and M&A advisory firm. Been around for about 30 years. We've done over $4 billion in transactions. It's about 120 offices throughout the U.S. and Canada, about 250 brokers working together, working mostly with business owners, helping them evaluate, value, and plan an exit strategy, and ultimately helping them with the exit, whether it be a succession or a third-party sale, or a transfer to next generation.
Awesome.
We do that. I've been doing business brokerage for 18 years now. Spent most of my career in the electronic component distribution business in New York, Long Island. Basically, we sold widgets for you economic fans. And our widgets happened to be a semiconductor, a computer chip. And it was a distribute, buy, sell, buy low, hopefully sell higher. And we had a particular niche in the military and aerospace industry. And particularly when Long Island had a robust defense and aerospace industry, which has since pretty much all moved to the south, like me. We had a nice run, eventually became a partner, and we did well. Then the early aughts, became clear the internet was not a friend to our business model. And, we had secret sources, and we were some other people's secret sources, and with the dawn of the internet, there were no secrets. And,
Right.
And we used to be able to pick up inventory, pennies on a dollar, surplus from Lockheed Martin, and in there might be a diamond microprocessor that Raytheon had been looking for, and sell it for a factor of many times. But now with the internet and eBay, all the inventory managers at the big companies now thought their excess inventory was golden. So that cut off a bit of supply, or at least certainly affected margins. And another thing started to come on the scene was counterfeiting from China. So there would be these military parts that were scarce, a lot of them obsolete. The commercial world drives the technology, and military systems are designed to last 30, 40, B-52, 100 years.
Yeah.
And whereas the life cycle of a commercial product can be a couple of months. And so the semiconductor manufacturers constantly upgrading to keep up. So a lot of things became obsolete, and we kind of specialized in that world of obsolete parts. And suddenly there was, a part that we'd been looking for years, and suddenly there's 10,000 of them in Qingbei. We'd have the parts tested as best we could, but we ran into some failures. And it's a bad day when, if you're selling commercial parts to Apple Computer, when Apple calls you and says, listen, your parts are failing in our system, that's a bad day. It's a really bad day when Raytheon calls you and says your parts are failing in the landing gear for the F-36 or whatever. Before I knew a whole lot about exit strategy and business valuation, I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, 20 years. Am I going to do this for another 20? So I had two partners, and I was the youngest, ran sales and marketing, and we'd grown it to about a $20 million operation. And I wish I'd been more strategic at the time, but I get my emotions took the best of me, and I was waking up in the middle of the mornings gagging on my anxieties and such. So I just told my partners, I think I want to do something different, and we arranged a buyout for me and the building we owned in Huntington, Long Island. And I dabbled for a few years and was actually going to get into financial planning in Manhattan with a buddy of mine. I was taking courses, and one of his clients approached him about helping him sell his business. And he thought, financial planning. Business brokerage. Just could be a nice add-on to my financial planning practice. Do you want to go explore this and see what we think? So sure, let's do some research. And we just happened to stumble onto a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is spring of 2007, and we said, well, let's go. Let's take some classes, pick some brains, talk to people, and see what the deal is. And I was impressed with the people that we met and talked to, and people were making a decent living, and clearly had much less headaches than I had in my previous life, and personally signing on a $2 million line of credit. So I was also impressed with North Carolina and the city of Charlotte. And I told my buddy, I think I like this business, but, I don't think I want to start another company in New York. So long story short, I wound up connecting with a regional business brokerage firm on Long Island that had regional and national aspirations, and basically said, if we decide we like each other, how about I open an office for you in the Carolinas? So I worked with them for a year in New York, kind of learned the trade somewhat, and much like Jed Clampett, packed up the family and moved to North Carolina.
Moved to Kakalaki.
Kakalaki. And by that time, with more research, I discovered that the Triangle was a better place for me and the business and the schools. And we particularly liked Chapel Hill because it reminded us back then of what Huntington, Long Island looked like.
I was about to say, you learned you're not the only ones here, for sure, right? You're here in good company.
Yeah. So So then I got here pretty much just in time for the world to come to a complete stop. This is 2008. We got here in May of 2008, and then September of 2008, Lehman Brothers goes out of business, and the world comes to pretty much a complete halt. But even in that situation, some people have to sell or have to buy. If there's no jobs, buying a business, certainly a good opportunity or good solution. And my first transaction was an auto transmission business, and it had been two partners, a money partner and an operating partner, and one partner had passed away, the money partner, and now you had without a buy-sell agreement. And now you had a wife who's, a spouse who's a widow who's looking for, as much money as she can get out of the business, and an operating partner who's just basically looking for a job. So it was kind of a conflict, and I wound up pretty much representing the buyer and the operating partner, and kind of co-brokered that with a gentleman from Entrust Associates, and we finally worked out a nice deal for everyone. And I liked this gentleman from Entrust, and we went on to switch teams and work for Entrust. Eventually owned the company. I was recruited by Murphy Business Sales on several occasions along the way, it's because it was a franchise. I kind of pushed back. I said, no, I'm from New York. That's okay. I don't need a franchise. But as time went by, I looked into it deeper and realized that some of my concerns weren't correct, and it wouldn't infringe my geography. And I joined Murphy in 2018, and wish I'd done it years sooner. So, but to go back, one of the other things about business brokerage that was of interest to me was the idea, much like I was also a bit of a real estate investor, the idea that I'd be able to have access to buying a little business, either as a cash cow or to fix it up and sell it as part of my business brokerage thing. So,
well, so you have a very varied background between business ownership in larger organizations, business ownership within the brokerage community, business ownership because of the brokerage community and your access to things, and then just guiding so many business owners on how to exit. I am sure you have seen so much. So I'm really interested in learning about a hummingbird effect that you can share with us that you've seen either in your own world or in a client's world.
In my business, the sales cycle is so long typically. One client, one of my bigger sales was $2 million. It took 10 years to after first meeting to come to a successful transaction. And he just wasn't ready. And he had plan A, which didn't turn out to work, and I was apparently plan B with selling the business. He was trying to do take care of two people in house, but one person left, and the other one got cold feet, and so bad for them, good for me. But what I came up with, in terms of a hummingbird effect, is I think we talked about this recently, is the AI workshop that XPX put on.
Okay. Yes. And XPX is a group that we're both part of.
Yes.
A great group here in Raleigh, North Carolina for networking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a nationwide organization.
Well, that's true.
And we
it's
have
part
a chapter,
of a
Raleigh
national,
chapter.
Yes.
So it's the Exit Planning Exchange. So it's a robust group, and they put on lunches with speakers, and this is with their signature event. And they brought in this Ethan King, and a digital marketing expert, and with quite a story, and he's become an AI maven. And this was like a 4-hour workshop, but maybe I'm not the sharpest tool as I used to be. But it could have been a 2-day workshop for me, and it was a mind blower. And one of the things I think was a big takeaway is how we've all been trained or come up, in the internet age, you got to be on Google. Google's got to be able to find you. And he's saying how Google searches have declined significantly.
Absolutely.
And people are using, AI
right
as their search engine. And you need to be out there. And I had noticed a couple of, when I get inquiries from a couple of different sources, Biz Buy Sell is a big source, and things that come in off the Murphy website, generally asks, how did you hear about us? And, it used to be, Google, but now I started to see, ChatGPT, AI, and it was eye-opening. And so the thing, another takeaway from this workshop was, you have to be out there. And, we've all, I've done some posting. I have a company that does some AI posting and some LinkedIn posting, but, he made a point of you can't just be on LinkedIn and just Facebook. You need to be on all of the platforms. And, the more you interact, the more you're out there, the more you're likely to be found.
right
If someone's looking for a business broker in Raleigh.
So what have you done as the result of the workshop that you feel like is something small that you think is going to really move the needle for you?
So I'm still kind of playing catch up. So Murphy as a whole, and you hear about people in the business brokerage world, how they say their career really took off when they brought in an admin. And I've historically used interns from one of the local colleges. And mostly I haven't really used their talents that much. I usually use them for data entry when I'm doing an evaluation. They enter into the Murphy computer the financials, tax returns, and such. And I've done some marketing, make some phone calls for me, but now I see whether my new intern he's really good, one of the best I've had, and I think he's a sophomore, so I think I'll have him for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I've been consciously trying to bring him, into more things, and we took the slides from that AI workshop and tried to, reverse engineer and work backwards and see how we could take from that and utilize into my business, and we're still working on that. But one of the things is, there's an app to post on all, one app, and it'll post on, Pinterest, it'll post on TikTok and all the major sites. So again, having you out there, the more you're out there, the more the bots, I guess, can pick you up,
right,
and bring in potentially a new client.
Yeah, so AI is, the buzz of everything right now. So we can deconstruct that a little bit. You talk about having help of an intern, and I think so many people are trying to figure out if that's the right move or not with, all of the buzz around AI. What's it like to work with a young person to implement this for you? I just went way off script here.
It keeps you young. They're younger than my kids, and and I'm a big music fan. As I saw some great vinyl albums on the hallway in the way into the studio that I'll have to check out on the way out. But that's kind of one of the prerequisites for my interview. When I interview them, I go, well, do you like music from the 70s through the 90s and 80s? And so I listen to an eclectic music station, and they generally go along. And the last intern, he got the job immediately when he said one of his favorite artists was Bob Dylan. I go, you're in.
Right.
So, but it's interesting the references that they don't get.
Right.
And I guess probably if they shared references with me, then I wouldn't have a clue about either.
That's right. How does that play into your advisory services in the business brokerage area? Do you see a lot of your companies that you're working with utilizing AI and being more innovative these days? Like, is that kind of a prerequisite for selling a business or buying a business today to understand that part of what's going on?
I guess some of them dabble, but I would say, just given the demographics, a lot of my clients kind of look like me.
Okay.
With some gray hair on the top. But there's often still fire in the furnace. I do a lot of work in the home services and the trades, and there are a lot of people that have started out as a technician, and then grew, brought on another truck, and now they got 8 trucks, and now they got a company and a business, and they may or not have learned along the way how to really be a business person.
Right.
And so they have the technical skills, but they're lacking in maybe the marketing and finance, and the sharper ones. I try, depending on when we engage, companies are more valuable if there's a second layer of management, or if there's a number two. If the owner, if the business is too dependent on the owner, that's going to knock down valuation, and that's going to be a problem for potential buyers.
Right. Have you seen AI in the sense of how you're looking at using it for your own business, maybe not seen it, but do you have a comprehension of how in the home services space especially, it seems to me people are searching different now than ever. Like I watch my husband do YouTube searches at home now, and everything's at his fingertips, whether he wants to try to fix it himself or try to find someone. It seems like the way we're searching now is just so different. We might be searching directly on a platform like Pinterest or YouTube, or even LinkedIn, where we're typing in a question. Who in my network can help me with this, right? And so I think in home services, especially, is a place where AI can really help you figure out how to reach a much greater number of people, just because we've become more accustomed to just being able to talk about our problem to an AI instead of trying to figure out keywords. So do you think some of the work that you are doing for yourself, you'll be able to share with some of your customers to help them kind of navigate this change?
So there's, I think, three ways to look at this, to look at AI. So either you embrace it and you incorporate it into your business skills to maybe have a competitive advantage and move ahead of the competition. Help that the example of the tradesman who's becoming a business person, you can help him scale. Maybe he doesn't need an admin. Maybe he can train a bot to do. It's amazing. It can check your emails and pick out for the important ones, and so that's the proactive approach. There's another thinking is you just have to do, just if you want to stay where you are, tread water, you need to be involved in this and have some sort of strategy around AI and how you're going to embrace it, and either in your business and help your clients in their business. And then I think the worst case scenario is you're going to bury your head in the sand and say, "Oh, this is a passing fad. I don't need that. It's like the internet," and your chances are you're going to get left behind, or it's going to decrease the value of your business because you're working with 20th century tools in a 21st century dynamic business environment.
So do you feel like you've had time yet from the workshop to see any success of what you're doing?
Where it's really been helpful, I have a great regional director who handles all of North and South Carolina. He's Ron Buck. He's a wizard. He's a former investment banker, former Navy pilot, was a COO of a mortgage insurance company, which, as you can imagine, that was not a good place to be in the Great Recession. So we had to unwind that business and lay off 800 people, but found business brokerage. He was looking to buy a business, found business brokerage. It's become very successful, and now he's become a mentor to, we have 14 of us in the Carolinas, but his trainings, half the country, tunes into them and his webinars. But Ron has embraced AI like he's embraced Excel and Word, and he's a wizard on all those. And I think he did get some help from a consultant, but he has created a series of prompts for us to help us create our marketing pieces. So before we bring a company to the marketplace, basically we construct two pieces of marketing. One is the no-name teaser, where we're just amazing HVAC business, Central North Carolina, doing $2 million in revenue, $500,000 in EBITDA, and that kind of thing. What down payment, but being careful, and you have to be even more careful now. We have to when we make this no-name teaser, that we have to run it back through AI to make sure you can't figure out what the company
is. Right.
Yeah. So
right.
confidentiality is a big thing in what we do. So when Ron was first investigating this, he was very distressed when he took one of his listings and, can you find out who this is? And bingo, nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be, very vague, even more so now. And so AI can help us with that and help us with the confidentiality. And then the big piece is the confidential memorandum. It's we're kind of known at Murphy for creating a very robust one. It's 50 to 70 pages, telling the story of the business, the successful strategies, and top customers, top employees, and such. And the Murphy system creates a template, but historically it's been up to us, me, and my intern to fill in the text.
Right.
But now with these prompts, what used to take 10 or 12 hours of man hours to accomplish, we can probably do in 1 to 2 hours. And it's just, amazing what it can do. And also on the deal side, we have prompts for investigating letters of intent. Pull out all the distinguishing factors. What's the down payment? What's the is there a seller finance? How much? What are the terms? And then if we go back and forth, we take the original document and compare this document to this document. What are any changes that were put in?
Isn't it amazing how fast the analysis part can go with AI?
Do you want to stay ahead with insightful tips and industry-leading knowledge to build your business value through better branding? Sign up for the Birds of Wisdom email newsletter from Hummingbird Creative Group. The newsletter is packed with expert advice and the latest trends to help you elevate your brand. Visit hummingbird-creative.com today to subscribe. Don't miss out. Join the community, and let's soar together.
What about a buyer or seller who says, I'm really worried about this right now, and not even with your company, but just I think with brokers in general. I mean, you're dealing with very private information. Talk about the concerns and how you're hearing the industry talk about the concerns around the privacy and the confidentiality when you're using a tool like that to help create these documents. What's in place to
you want to
make them
that's another thing to switch in most of the AI systems that you tell it not to privacy system, tell it not to teach it stuff on your questions. And also we take great pains and to maintain the confidentiality. So there's a lot of similarities to what I do to real estate brokerage.
Right.
But one big difference is the confidentiality piece. So if you're selling a house or a building, you want everyone to know. You'll put a sign on your front lawn. But if you're selling a business, generally you want no one to know.
Right.
You don't want customers to know. You don't want employees to know specifically. You don't want vendors to know. You don't want competitors to know. Ideally, you just want a small group of people. And we screen the buyers, and before they get any substantive information, they have to sign non-disclosure agreements, and we even beef them up to make it a non-solicitation agreement, so they agree for 2 years, not to look to poach any of the client's employees. So, and again, we try people. Some people do break the rules, and they're subject to being sued.
Well, and I'm sure the company has some very good boundaries around it, just in terms of how they've set up your AI agents and your system and everything to make sure that things are kept confidential. So it sounds to me like after all of these years, Don, you're still doing such a great job of embracing innovation in whatever way. I mean, you come from a semiconductor space, so you've always been in an innovation type of area. How do you see innovation playing into things today, whether it's AI or other types of innovation that are helping to lead to success?
What are the other, so AI obviously, is the big 100-pound gorilla in the room. You see buyers, using it for their own analysis, of the businesses. Buyers are a lot more savvy than they were years ago. So we try to make sure when we bring a business to market, we've done our own due diligence before we go to market to see if there's any issues, warts that we can smooth over before. But I think it's kind of like a shark. You need technology and innovation. You need to be moving forward, or you might just sink and die. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And what do you see with innovation in your home services? I mean, we've talked about how they're not quite there. But do you think the ones who embrace innovation the way that you are, right, do you think they're going to have some good competitive advantages when it comes to buying and selling businesses in the future?
Yeah, I think people want to know, what's the technology in the business? Is it up to date? What could improve it? If you updated the technology, would that improve profitability? So I think that's another benefit for all the organizations that we belong to. It kind of keeps you appraised of what's going on in the business world and what are the trends, what are the new innovations that are coming out that we really need to service our customers and clients properly. We need to be up to speed on new things and as we can. I'm also a certified exit planner, but there are professionals that probably do a better job of that than I. So if it's someone that has a 5 to 10 year runway, I'll work with them, but more likely bring in a specialist in that world. And also, in the marketing world, I'd bring in somebody like yourself. So it's, we like to say that business brokerage, much like exit planning, is a team sport. So it's different professions like to think of themselves as the quarterback. So given my profession, we like to think that the business broker is the quarterback that helps supervise or organize or arrange the financial advisor, the business attorney, the estate planner, the insurance person, the marketing people. So that they're all have a seat at the table and aren't isn't 12 voices advising a business owner at the same time. So better if it comes through, if I'm not the quarterback, somebody else to be the conduit to get the right information, right knowledge to the business owner, and also make it as cost effective as possible. I don't have people running up fees and such.
So as you know, with Hummingbird Creative Group, we go to market with the concept that branding done well is going to help increase the valuation of a business over time. Helping a company create a stronger brand orientation helps them increase leads, helps them improve their culture and their recruitment, and in turn should raise the value of the business. The hummingbird effect piece of this is the idea that, doing something small in an area of marketing or sales can lead to something like an increased valuation, right?
Yeah.
Like over time, and have this huge effect on the company that you might not really realize at the time that you're doing it. So do you see what you're learning right now? Can you envision how you think this is going to change the way you approach sales and marketing going forward, and what you've learned from it so far, and how you think you'll put that to work?
Well, in my business, it's, it can be cyclical and, have hills and valleys, but you learn, currently listening to a book, the 50 Years of Apple, and you listen to Steve Jobs and the computer internet bust of 2000, he says, well, now is when we gear up the marketing, because now we gear
Right.
up our technology. So when the upturn comes, we're going to be ready.
Right.
And I think that needs to be, in my personal business, a consistent spend, consistent investment in my business going forward. Regardless of the hills and valleys, it's something you need to spend on your business and your people. And if and when I do have people, training your people, bringing them up to speed, and helping them achieve, higher level of actualization. Or
I think this idea of consistency, we've talked about consistency in marketing for ever through the history of marketing, and why consistency is so important. And I personally believe consistency has become more important now than ever before. And as we're using AI tools, creating those agents the way you're talking about, your director has done within the company, should help things be a little more consistent, rather than the individual prompts being done one at a time, right? I think that's really important. And also, I think as technology is changing around us, it's really hard to not jump from one thing to another, trying to figure it out and figure out how these tools are going to play into the mix. And I think this is a really hard time to be consistent. Do you agree with me on that? I mean, I think it's good to become conscious of it, because I think it's so hard.
Yeah, it depends, I guess, on the size of your organization and your ability to delegate. There's just so much going on in a business, in the business world, that one head can't keep it all together. So
Well, and as you're delegating, though, you've got to delegate it in a way so everyone's on the same page, and that consistency stands. And so then you are talking about how can you use AI to help you kind of manage how the different people might be talking about the company, speaking about its value proposition and things like that, so everyone is on the same page. So I think that's a piece of advice that I would think through, is making sure that you're really using the tools to stay consistent, and not using the tools and becoming fragmented, because I see a lot of that in marketing from where we're sitting. We love that clients want to try to use tools, but things are starting to look and sound a lot more fragmented, and we're trying to help them put some guardrails around that with agents. And so what advice would you give other businesses as you're kind of navigating this space right now?
have your goals, be attainable, and you need to plan. So in my world, we talk about exit planning. When you're sitting down in my old world, at the end of the year, and I used to hate that Christmas was at the end of the year, because if you're on a calendar year end, you're developing business plans, you're developing compensation plans for the new year. But part of those plans is to plan where you're going to be 10 years from now. What strategies do you need to get you there? What is your technology going to look like, and who's going to champion those various pieces of your business? Is your finance people? Is your accountant okay? Have you outgrown your spouse doing the books for the company? Which I see that a lot. It's time to get a controller, fractional CFO. Is it time to get chief marketing officer? Is it time to get a part-time or pro forma chief marketing officer like yourself? So it's about keeping the balls in the air and hopefully moving them forward without dropping too many.
Yeah, and it sounds, as someone who's embracing technology yourself, it sounds like you are encouraging people to embrace technology and be nimble and adapt with the times, but to always just make sure you've got an intentional plan and you're being consistent at the same time for success.
And I still struggle with this, but I work with my business coach, and trying to put together a schedule. So don't get bogged down, and don't be a fireman all day. Don't be putting out solving problems. Set aside, you need to be refilling the pipeline. You need to do some prospecting or marketing every day. You need to do some deal making. You need to, cover your bases and make sure they're scheduled. And try to make up for it. If that schedule's not working for you, then tweak it till it's something that works for you and works for your business.
Don, what size business do you tend to come across? And let's talk revenue, right? What's an ideal deal size for you in terms of the size of the business in terms of revenue?
I would say from $1 million to 10 or 20.
Right.
With most of them, my engagements being in the $1 through $5 million.
Okay.
And that's just kind of, you draw a bell curve of the businesses. That's kind of where they are.
And the reason I ask that is because, you're talking about questions that business owners are asking at a lot of different levels, right? And so you're seeing at that $1 to $5 million level, they need to be thinking about a controller or a CFO kind of person, some kind of centralized marketing communications function. And I think that's a really great nugget for business owners who may be hitting that 1 million and starting to see they're going to grow from there, that they really do have to start putting those things in place and having some consistency in order to have some consistency.
A lot of operators can get from 0 to 1 million, but getting from 1 million to 5 million is a whole different skill set, and most people hit the ceiling, hit the wall.
Yeah. What wall do you think is most common? Is it a 1 million or 1.2 and then they're kind of stuck? Or do you see them get to 2 and where's the sticking point?
I think a lot of it, what I see is it becomes a lifestyle business.
Okay.
So maybe when they're 30, 40, they were full of piss and vinegar and looking to take on the world, but now they're 40, 50, maybe 60, and
they want to buy the new car.
They got a nice life. They got a house at the beach. They got a nice family. The kids are through school, and they're not necessarily looking to jump on the accelerator.
Not as much fire.
But occasionally, when we do, I always recommend doing a business valuation, having an idea where you are, particularly if you have partners. So you definitely want to have a buy-sell agreement, and you want to have the company valued to understand how much insurance you need to cover on each of the partners in case something does happen. Because I've seen nightmares of where people didn't have buy-sells or didn't have them funded by insurance. Dealing with one right now where 2 partners, 47 years old, and they have a kind of an events business, and one of them passed away, and without a will, divorced. He's got minor children, and no buy-sell agreement, and it's kind of a mess. So, so having that buy-sell agreement, and also understanding the valuation, and then understanding, what's your goal? Is that good enough? Or, well, Don, 1 million is nice, but I need to get 5 million to exit and live comfortably the way I want to. And basically, I could show them on a graph. All right, so you're generating this much EBITDA, which is rated at people are going to pay you X number of a multiple of X on that level of EBITDA to get to $5 million valuation. You're going to need a whole lot more EBITDA, which at that level your multiplier is going to go up. So I can help you with the process, but more likely I'll be referring maybe a sales accelerator for you, or maybe some a consultant or a business coach to help you get to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, kudos to you for embracing technology and staying innovative for your own business. Love to hear that you're doing that. And I heard great things about that XPX workshop that I was out of town that week. So I hate I missed it, but I'm so glad it's making an impact. It's neat to work with other professionals that network in some of the same places that I do and see them really embracing what they learn and taking things where they need to go in their businesses. Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
Sure. Live every day to the fullest. I like this big music fan, so I like off the beaten path music of Warren, the late great Warren Zevon, who, when he found out he had terminal cancer on the David Letterman show, he said, "Enjoy every sandwich." So,
awesome.
And also if you're thinking about a negative strategy, run your business like you're going to run it forever. Some people, start to think about exit and they take their eye off the ball and they mentally go to the beach, and that's going to hurt their valuation.
So share all of your contact information with our listeners, please. So, or at a high level, and we'll make sure there's some show notes too.
Okay. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Don or Donald. I think I'm Donald Emmett on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Murphy Business Sales, and you can find me on Google. My business is Don Emmett, Murphy Business Sales of Raleigh. My main phone number is 919-881-9997. You can reach me on my cell at 919-257-0108. And my email is the classic Murphy email. It is my first initial D for Donald, dot my last name Emmett, EMMETT, at murphybusiness.com.
Awesome. And you use that voice. So I'm going to go back to the fun fact.
Okay.
Talk to us a little bit about DJing.
Okay. So
the other side of Don.
So part of the business brokerage, like I said, was finding businesses. So I actually got into the pool service business, hot tubs and pool maintenance. And the business was originally based in the Triad, and we were looking to bring it to the Triangle. And my wife and we'd gone to see a show at the Arts Center in Carrboro. And as we were walking out, there's a little radio station, WCOM. You go, oh, look at that. And I'm a big, NPR fan and public radio. And these are 100-watt radio stations that there's one in Hillsborough, and the government has set up these airways for the public to have access to their public airwaves. So I, 103.5 on your radio dial. And I started, there was sponsorships, and I'm familiar with sponsorships on WUNC and such. Right. And so I sent them an email. I said, well, I'm interested in learning more about sponsorships and perhaps volunteering. I'm a big music fan. So they came back to me and said, sure, why don't you come in and talk to us? Maybe they go, would you like to do a show? I said, do a show? What do you mean do a show? I can't do a show. And they said, oh, sure you can. And so thought about it, and eventually I didn't want me playing rock and roll music to interfere with my professional reputation, so I assumed the character of the Doctor of Rock and Roll. And the Doctor went on the air at 11 o'clock Saturday nights, which fortunately the station does stream, so you could hear it on the internet, but the outer boundary of Chapel Hill, not so much.
Okay.
And then I found out, having picked the 11 o'clock Saturday night time slot, because I didn't want to interview with family life or business, that pretty much my entire target demographic was in bed by that time. So the running gag with my wife was, she goes, well, how was your show tonight? I go, well, I think my listener liked it.
Your listener. So, favorite artist song to play on the station?
Oh, my intro was the Doctor of Rock and Roll Doctor by Little Feat. But one of my favorite songs, I'm a big Steely Dan fan, would be Whatever World I'm Welcome to.
Nice.
Off the Katie Lied album.
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much. This has been fun.
It was fun. Thank you so much
I
for
love
having
learning
me.
a little bit more every time we get together. And thank you to the listeners.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the show with Don today, and go out and find your hummingbird effect.
And subscribe to Wendy's channel.
Thanks for listening to The Hummingbird Effect with Wendy Coulter. We hope you found this episode valuable. Please be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more or to work with Wendy and her team, go to hummingbird-creative.com.